In today's lesson, we are going to look at what is the least common multiple of two numbers. Least common multiple is sometimes referred to as the least common denominator, and perhaps you have heard of those words before. Before we talk about the least common multiples of two numbers, let's first understand what is multiple of a number. So to find multiples of, say, the number 5, what you do is you take the number 5 and you multiply it by 1. You multiply 5 by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Multiply 5 by 3, which is 15. 5 times 4, 20. 5 times 5, 25. 5 times 6, 30, and so on and so forth. And that's how you find multiples of 5. Finding multiples of 4 using the same method, basically take this number and multiply it by 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. You can also find multiples of the same number, of that number, by adding the current number by 4. So if you take 16 plus 4, you get 20. Plus take 20 plus 4, you get 24. Take 24 plus 4, you get 28, and so on and so forth. Alright? So we had multiples of 5, multiples of 4. We're interested in what they have in common. So I boxed it for you, and you can kind of look at the list and see that what they have in common so far from this list is 20. Both of them have 20 in common. They also have 40 in common. However, we're interested in the smallest one, which is called the least. And out of these two, the least is 20. So the answer is 20. That's the least common multiples. Let's go ahead and find the least common multiples of 8 and 10. So first, write all the multiples of 8. So multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 32. Add 8 to the previous number, 40. Add 8 to 40, 48. Add 8 to 48, you get 56. Add 8 to 56, you get 64. Add 8 to 64, you get 72. Add 8 to 72, you get 80. And so on and so forth. Those are multiples of 8. Let's take a look at multiples of 10. Take 10 times 1, 10. Take 10 times 2, 10 times 3, 10 times 4, 10 times 5, 10 times 6, 10 times 7, 10 times 8, 10 times 9, and so on and so forth. We're looking for the least common multiples. So if I search through this list, I know that these are the common multiples. The least common multiple would be 40. So that's our answer. So answer is 40. Yeah. Find the least common multiples of 12 and 20. Okay, begin, start with 12. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. 12 times 5 is 60. 12 times 6 is 72. And so on and so forth. Multiples of 20. 20 times 1 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. 20 times 3 is 60. And notice that I see the number 60 repeats. So because that's the first number, that's considered the least common multiple. So the answer is 60. Alright, now notice that 12 and 20 does produce a pretty big least common multiples, and oftentimes you're gonna get answers that are pretty big. So I will show you how to find the least common multiples using a different method instead of listing them all out. Alright, so oftentimes the least common multiple of two numbers can tend to be large. In order to be more efficient at finding the least common multiple, go ahead and follow the given set of rules that I'm about to write for you. And then I will walk you through how to solve that same problem, which we knew the answer is 60, by the new method. So what you do when you are given two sets of number is you go ahead and you prime factor each numbers. So prime factor each given number. Okay. Once you have prime factor each given number, then you will basically, let me go ahead and take you through it, and then we'll write down the next step as when it's appropriate. So first thing I'll do is I will prime factor the number 12. So 12 is 4 times 3, and then 4 is 2 times 2. Alright, and then the prime factor 20. 20 is 4 times 5, and then 4 becomes 2 times 2. So 12, and write it like this, and you have to be very careful. 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. So 2 times 2 times 3. Alright? 20 is 2 times 2 times 5. So to find the least common multiples, what you do is you circle different groups. So notice that the 12 has 2 groups. It has 2's and 3's. Alright. The 20 also have 2 groups. They are 2's and 5's. Alright. So what you do is you look in the group of 2's. So these are the group of 2. And you keep the group that has the most number of 2's. And so in this case, they both have the same number of 2's. So therefore what you do is you kind of look at this group and you keep 2 2's. Now the 12 has a 3 group, but the 20 don't. The 20 doesn't. So what you do is you keep that 3. And then the 20 has a group of 5, of just 1 5. However, the 12 doesn't. So you keep that 5. Alright. Multiply these together, you get 15 times 4 is 60. Alright, so therefore you get 60 for your answer. Okay. And I'll walk you through how to do this again in the classroom today. So what I'll do is I'll prime factor each given number, and then I will separate the factors into groups. Okay. After I separate the factors into groups, I am going to keep the groups with the largest repeated number, with the most repeated factor. Okay. Alright, and then the last thing you do is once you have kept all the group, then you multiply. Alright. I think if you were to watch what I did for the first time, it would be hard to understand. So I'm going to do another problem, and then hopefully you can pick up your understanding from here. Prime factor 15, 18, and 54. So 15 is 3 times 5. 18 is 9 times 2, and then 9 is 3 times 3. 54. Okay, 54 is 9 times 9 times what give you 54? 9 times 5. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 is 3 times 3. 6 is 2 times 3. Alright. So, I'm going to start with the number 15. I'm going to write 15 as 3 times 5. I am going to write the number 18 as 2 times 3 times 3. So 2 times 3 times 3. And then 54 is 2, 3, 3, 3. 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. Alright, so there are 3 groups in each number, right? So there's 5s, there's 3, and then notice that there is no 2. Alright, 18, there is 1, 2, 2 3s, and then there's no 5s. There's 1, 2, 3 3s, and then there's no 5. Alright, so good. So I separate factors into groups, and now I am gonna look at each group, look down at each group, and I'm gonna keep the one with the most repeated factor. So in the first group I get to keep a 2. In the second group, the one with the most repeated factor is the last one. It has 3 3s, so I will keep that one. In the last one, this is the guy with the most 5. This one doesn't have any 5, this one doesn't have any, this one has 1 5, so I keep 1 5. Multiply these together, that is your least common multiples. So 2 times, this is 27 times 5, 2 times 27 is 54, 54 times 5 is 270. So the least common multiples of 15, 18, and 54 is 270. Alright. The last thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to write 7/8 as another fraction, as another equivalent fraction with a different denominator. So say if we have a fraction that's 7/8, and I want to write 7/8 as another fraction with a denominator of 56. So how do I do that? So what I do is I go ahead and I first determine 8 times what would produce 56. And it turns out that 8 times 7 give me 56. So therefore, in order to find this number, I'm going to have to multiply the numerator by 7. So 7 times 7 would be 49. Alright, so 49 over 56 is another fraction that would equal 7 over 8. Alright, and that's what we mean by write another fraction that's equivalent to 7 over 8 with a denominator of 56. So you know the denominator, you just need to find pretty much the top number. So what you do is you take the given number and you ask yourself, 8, which is the denominator of the given number, times what number produces 56? And it turns out that it's 7. So therefore you multiply the top number by 7, and that gives you 49. So 49 over 56 is the same as 7 over 8. Alright, feel free to look over the lesson again, and then let me know if you have any questions.